Gildan Media presents Your Coach in a Box, affordable, life-changing audio programs. The power in a link. Open doors, close deals, and change the way you do business using LinkedIn. By David Gowel. Narrated by Pratt. Forward. I have made several significant career changes in my life, including the transition from being a civilian to serving in the military, from the military to the NFL, and from the NFL to commercial real estate. Throughout these diverse careers, I've noticed a common trend relevant to any industry. Exceptional relationships lead to exceptional success. A naval officer is ineffective without his sailors executing tactically. A quarterback cannot score touchdowns without seamless teamwork between linemen who block and receivers who catch. And a broker does not close deals if he does not provide the best service to his clients. The success of these professional relationships is also influenced by the caliber of the players involved. To achieve more than mediocrity, one can hope to be surrounded by remarkable professionals who also perform beyond the call of duty. However, I found that it is unwise to simply hope you will always join teams of remarkable performers who work well together to consistently achieve superior results. Such successful relationships require proactivity, a challenge that the best teams overcome together. While building exceptional relationships or achieving peak performance once you find them, hoping is a common practice many professionals deploy. David Gowel has shown me that when used properly, LinkedIn allows professionals to replace hope with decisive action in this context. This tool lets people find key contacts in a mutually beneficial manner, making the resultant business relationships more productive. I met Dave through my company's work with Jones Lang LaSalle, a firm for which I am currently the executive chairman for the Americas. At the time we met, I was interested in his military background and entrepreneurial spirit. I did not fully appreciate the value that social technologies would play in business. However, I've now learned how Dave's company, Rock Tech, is helping the world understand how these new technologies make relationship building and management more efficient than ever. Some believe that our tech-savvy youth are becoming introverted as they spend more and more time interacting with their peers online. However, Dave shows us that the art of communicating and building relationships is now actually more effective than any methods my generation had the chance to use, thanks to these new technologies. In this book, you will learn both the potential power that your current network already contains, as well as how to turn that power into tangible opportunities and warm introductions with the help of LinkedIn. From one football player, corporate leader, military officer, entrepreneur, chairman, board member, and avid reader to another, this book is well worth the read. Roger Staubach, NFL Hall of Fame quarterback and executive chairman, Americas, Jones Lang LaSalle. Preface. My story starts as a West Point cadet looking to serve my country, become an Army Ranger, see the world, and learn what it really means to be a leader. After leaving the military, I found myself on the unexpected path of watching a social media revolution explode in front of me while teaching on the subject of leadership as an assistant professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. This allowed me to transition from a West Point graduate and Army Ranger serving in a tank platoon in Baghdad to a young educator at a world-renowned academic institution, to the CEO of RockTech, a company I co-founded with Mark Rockefeller. All of this occurred in less than 6 years, in the worst economy of my life, and all before I turned 30. This confluence of learning from the brilliant young minds at Facebook's Ground Zero, I liaised with Harvard's faculty and administrators from my position at MIT to support the Harvard students participating in our courses. The intellectual curiosity surrounding this revolution at an academic powerhouse and my entrepreneurial desire to start and lead a civilian enterprise have made me comfortable speaking authoritatively on the currency that made this new power possible: social capital. Having reached my 30th birthday while finishing up this book, I don't purport to have decades of industry experience that allow me to sit atop a mountain in the lotus position, posing riddles to my visitors. However, it is because my professional life has been spent between the social media generation and corporate America's current leaders that I can see both perspectives on how each is using these new technologies, and see as well what each is lacking. The latter group struggles to understand why the former so readily shares so much information about themselves publicly and substitutes face-to-face interaction with texting or wall posts. The former group hasn't had as much opportunity to experience the powerful impact that a warm introduction or sage bit of social business intelligence can have on a business deal, career transition, or personal challenge. Describing the past decade of my life as a whirlwind would be quite the understatement. Between the life-changing experiences of graduating from the United States Military Academy at West Point, earning my Ranger tab, serving in Iraq, and co-founding and leading 2 civilian companies, I also orchestrated high-end events for multiple 4-star generals in Europe, moved to Boston and grew my network from scratch, taught military leadership to students at MIT and 6 other schools, was accepted into a master's program at Harvard, and co-founded a successful marketing firm in a recession, all while being in awe of the little trooper my wife and I welcomed into the world in 2008. Today I am a CEO, an entrepreneur, and a leader who recognizes that I can achieve nothing without a talented, well-informed, and aligned team executing and improving upon my vision. I wrote The Power in a Link to help the world see what I've experienced by recognizing that LinkedIn, which so many consider a contact manager or resume site, is so much more than it appears. I'm a walking case study that demonstrates the professional power of this unparalleled business tool. LinkedIn's social map and its accompanying relationship-focused search capability will change business forever, whether you like it or not. In fact, it was my use of LinkedIn that put this book before you today. I used it to request a warm introduction to Anne Smith, a senior executive at one of the world's leading publishing houses of social media books, through the following email that I sent one evening to a client and friend. To Richard Foote, sent Thursday, February 17th, 2011, 7:21 p.m. Hi, Richard. I was passed the name of Anne Smith today by my writer as your name popped up as being connected with Anne in LinkedIn. Do you know her well? As we consider if now is the right time to publish my book, given LinkedIn's upcoming IPO, I'd love to invite Anne to our office on the Rockefeller family floor at 30 Rock to see her thoughts on how best we should proceed with my book. Any thoughts you have would be, as always, much appreciated. Dave. Because of the social capital I built with Richard, I received this helpful reply early the next morning. From Richard Foote. Sent Friday, February 18th, 2011, 8:48 a.m. I know her very well. It would not be an understatement to say she has been one of my best friends for almost 40 years. We went to college together. I'll be in the Boston office this afternoon. Send me a note as to when it would be a good time to speak, and we can talk about how I can be helpful. Due to the subsequent meetings this simple request stimulated, I received my contract from John Wiley & Sons to publish this book on April 18th, a mere 2 months after I directly stimulated word of mouth using the knowledge I proactively and swiftly gained through LinkedIn. Introduction. It's a strange feeling, being awake while everyone else is asleep. Although you may not actually be nodding off as you listen to this, if you're like most of the world, you probably have not yet woken up to the real power of social technology, especially the professional networking site, LinkedIn. It's one thing to know that there's power in this forum. It's another entirely to be able to explain how you already use it successfully to close deals. We're going to help you achieve the latter. The core value proposition of LinkedIn to successful professionals is outlined in the sections that follow. LinkedIn exponentially increases your network utility. Most people who think they understand professional social networking tools always agree with me on the first 5 words of that phrase. In other words, they assume that the more people you have in your network, the greater the likelihood of achieving your professional goals. However, it's not about just having a bigger network. It's about getting more utility out of that network and saving time as you conduct business without harassing or over-communicating to professionals. This book will show you how our networks are actually already much bigger than we need them to be to accomplish our goals. The challenge is learning how to extract more out of your network, faster than you have before, in order to outpace those who compete for the current available market share of client prospects, top talent, investors, business partners, and so forth. That's precisely what LinkedIn allows you to do, but only if you use it the right way. LinkedIn is not social media. Unlike most LinkedIn books that describe how to get the most out of this social media tool, The Power in a Link focuses on extracting the business value from LinkedIn in a time-efficient manner. Ironically, it's not the social part of social media that makes this term a bad descriptor for this technology. Rather, the media element of this phrase has made users think that they need to actively send out transmissions to as many people as possible, as often as they can, and be in a conversation about their personal brand for LinkedIn to be used effectively. This is not the case. In fact, according to the most successful professionals with whom I've worked, too much messaging and conversation, solely for the sake of conversation, is considered to be unprofessional noise, not something that promotes your business goals, but that actually degrades your ability to achieve them. What you can expect to find in The Power in a Link. There have been many books written about LinkedIn, and most provide tips and tricks for things like building profiles and expanding your network. Although The Power in a Link will give you those as well, the major difference between those books and this one is that I'll demonstrate the victories I prescribe for you. I will walk you through how I've met exceptional success using LinkedIn, providing the tactics and etiquette that turns social network theory into tangible business deals. The methods I'll share can help you protect your network's privacy and security while amplifying, not replacing, the traditional methods of real-world networking, lead generation, due diligence, sales cycle shortening, hiring, and making strategic business decisions that you perform every day. This book sets out to awaken you to the potential of LinkedIn through how-tos and anecdotes. I've inserted some relevant and more detailed biographical anecdotes for your deeper understanding of my journey with LinkedIn, and a bit of enjoyment along the way. You can choose to either listen or skip over these sidebars, depending on your interest in them, without missing out on the thrust of the book. Another reason I took the time out from leading my business to write this book is my desire to thank and repay some social capital to those key members of my network who have facilitated my successes. These individuals made important introductions, provided significant business intelligence, gave exceptional advice, helped me learn from my mistakes, and became wonderful friends, advisors, clients, and investors. You will hear stories about them, some with clear titles and some who may remain incognito for one reason or another, under names like John Awesome. I will also mention and change the names of some folks I've come across who could use some education in social capital, such as Jane No Good. These individuals' anonymity is for their own protection. The Power in a Link will show you how social technology tangibly helped me accomplish ambitious professional goals. It will tell you the story that led up to the launch of RockTech, the business in which I now enable, scale, and track effective training on LinkedIn usage by employees and their corporations, with more technologies coming soon. You will gain a clear understanding of the way LinkedIn can function as a game-changing business tool for you and those with whom you work on a daily basis. I'll tell you the story, people say it's colorful, of how I use LinkedIn in the real world to generate significant business success for myself and our clients. I will share the lessons I learned that have led me to where I am now, with the expectation that it will quiet the noise that may be keeping you from understanding how social technology can work for you and your corporation, partnership, office, sole proprietorship, or business division. I'll walk you through the details of how LinkedIn has been critical to my success and suggest ways your LinkedIn network can help you, as it helped one of my clients at Silicon Valley Bank. Here's a note from Mark Gallagher, Senior Vice President, Sales Origination at SVB Financial Group. David and RockTech have assisted us to close deals by using LinkedIn that we may not otherwise have closed, totaling over $20 million. We at SVB have worked with RockTech in multiple capacities, including conference speaking roles, workshops, intense training programs, and their own software platform, TAP. RockTech is a salient leader in this rapidly evolving industry, and we are happy to recommend them. What has kept the world fast asleep? As I implied in the first sentence of this section, I believe many people have yet to wake up when it comes to effectively using LinkedIn. Exactly what sedative has kept the professional world from awaking to the power of this technology? There are 4 key parts to this cocktail. 1. Facebook. The Facebook eruption confused the world about what LinkedIn truly is and the value it provides. LinkedIn essentially fell into the ever-growing stew of technologies grouped as social media, despite the fact that it predates Facebook. Nowadays, many see LinkedIn as merely Facebook in a suit. Inviting someone to connect on LinkedIn is often erroneously perceived as the professional equivalent of friending someone, a misconception that has caused a devaluation of this technology's true potential. 2. Non-intuitive behaviors. LinkedIn is years ahead of the professionals who can best use it to achieve their business goals. Not because LinkedIn is difficult to use, but it's because the social business intelligence LinkedIn provides has never been available, making its real-world usage non-intuitive. The mentality of those who say, "Put my Rolodex onto the internet so others can steal the network I've grown? You're crazy!" has left some people thinking that reflecting one's trusted network on LinkedIn is risky, providing hunting grounds for some to poach on the relationships that others have spent a lifetime building. This has even bred contempt for the tool, as well as a false justification for those who like to keep on status quoing. In reality, and from personal interactions with LinkedIn executives, I've learned that the corporation behind this professional network could not be more protective of its users' networks and its platform. In fact, the platform actually serves as an amplifier for those with the highest caliber networks, where they can extract tangible benefits while protecting and even reinforcing their real-world relationships. Professionals have become much more accessible to others in the past decade due to the explosion of online connectivity. But many of the traditional professionals have fallen into a false sense of security, thinking that by keeping their Rolodexes locked in their desks, they can hide their personal networks from the competition. 3. Complex and risky. The population postured to benefit most from LinkedIn consists of the established, business-leading generation of professionals who have been successful without LinkedIn for their entire professional careers. They are accustomed to the concept of using relationships to drive business, but they claim to currently do it, and want to continue doing it, the right way, in the real world, not in cyberspace. Most of these individuals haven't been willing to dive into LinkedIn and try it, even if they get past the first 2 hurdles. They don't want to test their ability to be quick learners by risking a mistake that could impact their reputation in front of their networks just by trying to get LinkedIn. And finally, 4. The same, but very different. Although LinkedIn's most valuable technical features have not materially changed since launching in 2003, the tangible value that the platform now provides wasn't accessible until recently. This core, valuable functionality didn't and won't exist for its users until the following occurs. LinkedIn itself first reaches a critical mass of millions of users in a relevant target market, and the users seeking value connect to enough of the people they know on LinkedIn, but only the people they know. Because these criteria need to go hand in hand, many tech-savvy early users of LinkedIn found it to be useful but not sufficiently compelling because the platform didn't have enough users. This caused those innovators to slide into LinkedIn behavior patterns and be followed by the masses that bypass the tool's real value. And this real value is what puts LinkedIn on a glide path to revolutionize business. It is this cocktail of sedatives that causes many of LinkedIn's current and prospective users to struggle when trying to comprehend the concept of mapping their long-standing networks. If these people understood the power here, they would use LinkedIn to activate that untapped value waiting for them just inches beyond their current reach. A metaphor I use to explain this argument compares LinkedIn to a common tool. If LinkedIn is a 1,000-blade Swiss Army knife, most people start using a few of its blades, the ones that they can easily figure out. They don't look deeper into the tool because they find value in and start to use those first few blades. However, many people are using the blades ineffectively, and the majority of users aren't even using the most valuable ones, especially since the best LinkedIn blades don't come pre-sharpened. How I ended up here, writing this book. It has become a passion of mine to help the world understand how to leverage new, misunderstood, and underutilized technologies, with only the first one being that Swiss Army knife that is LinkedIn. But it took a unique journey for me to realize this passion, and most of my accomplishments would not have been achievable without the incredible network and team that I developed. A cultivation of my LinkedIn prowess, and of course, an overabundance of caffeine. Ironically, I first started to learn the value of LinkedIn from my students. While serving in MIT's Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC, program, I was responsible for liaising with the Harvard ROTC students. I was able to teach young leaders at both ends of the city how to transition from Cambridge academia to combat leadership. Since this coincided with Facebook's explosive success, my students, who were among Facebook's first users, gave me daily lessons on using social media. Then, when building my first company in less than ideal economic conditions, I discovered that LinkedIn was the best social networking ally for those challenging times. Having used this networking tool with our clients since 2007, I've experimented with LinkedIn and other social platforms extensively. I've made some rookie mistakes while using it, but also discovered and built upon the most beneficial, game-changing aspects. I grew a team that consulted and trained on LinkedIn when we weren't using it ourselves to drive revenue, build market share, and keep our investors willing to invest in our next big idea. Yet unlike other social media experts, we didn't spend our time consulting or training on LinkedIn with a focus on being in more conversations, having a high number of connections, or showing off catchy job titles. In short, we didn't do anything that we didn't think would directly lead to tangible benefits like top-line revenue growth, warm lead generation, and measurably faster hiring. It was this business that refined our LinkedIn expertise, informed us of best practices, and empowered us to seize a bigger opportunity for effectively training many more people than just those with whom we could personally interact. My current company, RockTech, has built the Technology Adoption Platform, known as TAP, T-A-P, which overlays and integrates with LinkedIn's actual user interface. More generally, TAP is a strategic tool for corporations to provide initial and ongoing technology adoption for their employees in a manner where users learn while actually using that technology. TAP for LinkedIn helps people learn the best practices I demonstrate in this book to achieve significant business successes while inside their own LinkedIn profiles. Our platform allows corporations to empower rather than prey on their employees. Yet the power of our software, as with LinkedIn's, is always rooted in the human behaviors outside cyberspace that are enabled and amplified because of it. Because of my success with LinkedIn usage, I earned warm introductions to LinkedIn founder, Greylock partner, and industry icon Reid Hoffman, as well as many of LinkedIn's executives, co-founders, and investors. LinkedIn has passed us business, introduced us as a reliable source to the New York Times and Fox News, showcased my story to its employees and users by featuring me in their 100 million user marketing campaign, invited me to speak at an internal company panel discussion, and supported TAP's launch by signing a coveted application programming interface, known as API, agreement with RockTech. I was even invited to sit in the front row at the LinkedIn-sponsored event that hosted the President of the United States, and most importantly, LinkedIn has built a professional network that changed my life. Keep in mind that we had no incentive to choose LinkedIn over any other social networking platform. As other tools emerge, RockTech will master them and deliver adoption products in addition to those offered for LinkedIn, since we don't see LinkedIn falling from the forefront of this industry anytime soon. We recognize and explain that LinkedIn is not the be-all and end-all business tool. Our team uses it to amplify the actions we've performed before. In addition to LinkedIn, we focus on finding and simplifying the best yet most misunderstood technologies so that you can more easily generate and measure business successes. For me, using LinkedIn began as a way to generate leads and gain key introductions for my first business, a Cambridge-based marketing firm called Clearly Creative. I soon realized that the domain expertise surrounding social technology was going to become much bigger than just a resource to grow the marketing firm. I've progressed from a guy who made fun of social media — you'll hear a story about my friend Amos later in Chapter 5 — to a LinkedIn Jedi, dubbed as such by the Boston Globe's Scott Kirshner. Having spent these past few years of my life clarifying LinkedIn's power to various corporate audiences, I've come to realize that it's truly all about the individual. Despite this tool's breadth of use for those in the business world, including lead generation, hiring, job searching, closing deals, shortening sales cycles, marketing and search engine optimization, known as SEO, LinkedIn isn't going to be game-changing for everybody. Because LinkedIn allows you to amplify the value of your relationships and your personal brand, it is more powerful for those hardworking, value-producing, ethical individuals who are not getting as much out of their networks as they think they deserve. These people often think, if more people knew about me and the exceptional work I'm doing, I would achieve my business goals much faster than I am now. On the other hand, if your efforts or brand haven't positively impacted anybody else, LinkedIn will only make you more aware of that fact. If Jane No Good is unethical and lazy, nobody in her network is going to want to make introductions for her or provide her with the valuable social business intelligence she seeks, no matter how many connections she can amass. Unfortunately for Ms. No Good, one of the things that LinkedIn cannot do is generate fools who will hire bad employees or lazy service providers, buy poor products, or invest in weak entrepreneurs. I ask you to think about this question as you join me on this journey. What if a world existed where you could dramatically reduce the time it takes to find clients, employees, investors, service providers, and other business partners by using, not abusing, valuable trust-based relationships? Keep this question in mind as you listen, and you'll also begin to understand how LinkedIn is making this ultra-efficient professional connectivity a reality for you. It's a hefty task to enlighten the world on the ways LinkedIn is going to change business despite the 4 hurdles mentioned that have stood in its way thus far. Therefore, We'll start with a basic discussion of the commonly misunderstood idea of social capital. Without this understanding, I would not have been able to...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?